Hi, I'm going to make this short video to go back over the plagiarism assignment, just to go over the responses. So, what I asked you to do in this assignment is to identify the various kinds of plagiarism. Obviously, this is important for this class since it's very important to know that you shouldn't be going online for outside sources. I mean, basically, you should just be reading the novels as is in the class, or the text that we're reading in class as is. But if you do go outside for like dictionary definitions or anything else, it's just good to know. And also for citing the text. So we had three concepts from Rebecca Moore Howard's article, and I asked you in instructions to write an essay back to me. So the other function of this assignment is just to get you into the habit of making essays for the class with introductions, body paragraphs, and conclusions. And what I asked you to do was to explain the concepts in your own words in the introduction, and then in body paragraphs explain whether or not each of the examples below contains plagiarism, and finally end with a recap of what you may have learned from the assignment that was new. So this first example is an example of patch writing. You see the phrase, the sentence, adult criminals and youth involved in illegal activities have reported that guns are not difficult to obtain. And then the student wrote, adults and youth involved in criminal activity have reported that guns are easy to obtain. So not a lot changed there. And what I was looking for you to do was to quote and compare, just to get your get into the text and analyze it, literally break it apart. And so you see that the words adult criminals and youth just became adults and youth, drop the word criminals, and illegal becomes criminal, and difficult becomes easy, and not difficult becomes easy. And if you look carefully, this goes through all the way. And so there were varying levels of how much you could cover this, but basically covering it enough to show that this was patch writing. The second example, a little hard to kind of like get it both on the same page. So, but it's also patch writing. It's not difficult to see tomorrow's sophisticated computers rapidly processing complex data from animals and transmitting it in a useful form to humans via an earpiece, handheld device, or spectacle lens display. Becomes the supercomputers of tomorrow will be able to transmit comprehensible information from animals to humans through small devices such as earpieces. So sophisticated computers becomes supercomputers. The phrasing of from animals to humans remains largely intact. The word transmitting merely becomes transmit. And instead of a list of things, the author just condensed it to the word earpieces. So yeah, this is a less straightforward case of patch writing, but I want you to notice how many of the words do carry over and how much of the sentence structure carries over. And so that would still constitute a form of patch writing because the student is suggesting that this phrasing is his or her own, but actually when you look at the original, it's from the original. Example 3 is much more straightforward. Everything from players through to the word acts was taken word for word, and that's non-attribution. And the thing to remember about non-attribution is that it literally refers to when students take text word for word and do not put quotation marks around it. But note that the student did name the source, and the student did produce even a citation for it. So the student was not trying to pretend like they were getting away with anything here. And clearly the student must have forgotten to put quotation marks around this. And so that's just a simple error. I mean, it will still fail, but I would ask the student to revise it and just say, like, you need to put quotation marks around everything that you actually take from the text and be very careful. Versus example 4, where the student really does seem to be trying to suggest that all of this information is his or her own original information. And that would be a clear-cut example of cheating because the student is intending to present the information as his or her own. And that's the crucial difference with cheating. So with patch writing in these examples, it's the case that if you're naming the source, especially and not cheating, it could be an issue with citation. So I typically give students the benefit of the doubt and ask them to revise. But if after asking you to revise, it happens again, then it seems like there's an intention there. All right, I hope this helps.